What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Constance Sports. I am your host, Constance. Now, it is week 9 of NCAA women's basketball. Rankings came out obviously a few days ago, but I'm a little late to the game. I know. Not a lot of big changes. A couple teams have shifted up and down when it comes to the rankings. You had USC who dropped 3 positions. They lost to UCLA, which to me isn't a bad drop. I know a lot of people are upset that they dropped some 3, but because UCLA was the number 2 team in the country, and they just recently got 1 vote for being possibly the number 1 team in the country. But dropping 3 positions after losing to the number 2 team isn't a bad deal, especially for USC, who is still a young team. They're going to start really hitting the competition, where they're going to have to do different things and switch it up. Don't get me wrong, Juju did her thing. She still played the same, but it pretty much proved my point that I did a few videos back, where it's just her on her team, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Iowa and Caitlin Clark. So they're going to have to start playing a little bit better. Her supporting cast has to do better, and I'm sure they will as the season goes on. So we shall see. Texas dropped 5 positions. I don't see that being a bad thing for Texas. They are a very good team, a very, very good team, and they're going to keep pushing. And they're gonna. I can see them hurting a couple teams in top 10. I could definitely see Texas hurting a couple teams in the top 10. You have Stanford, who went up a position. They're now sitting at the number 8 team. Colorado went up 3 positions, sitting at the number 5 team after beating Utah, which I think that surprised a lot of people because of Pele, which no one can really stop her. She's going to continue to do what she does. It's her, how she dominates any team she goes against is insane to me. But Colorado came out on top, did what they had to do. Now they're sitting at the number 5 position. Baylor, who is now sitting at number 6, we came up 4 positions. Baylor is pretty much showing that they're the real deal. Okay, they're showing that they're the real deal. They just recently took down TCU, who was undefeated, and they took them down. Some people might say it was their first game in their new stadium. Their emotions were high, but I was like, if that's the case, that doesn't matter, right? If their emotions were high, it's not like Baylor is a team that's like 8-5. Like, they were at the moment 11-0. Now they're sitting at 12-0. They are a good team. They're a team who has finally figured it out after a couple of low years after their coach left, and they're figuring it out, and they're doing an amazing job at it, and I am all here for it, and I hope they can continue to go. I am a fan of Baylor, so if they can keep growing, keep pushing, keep dominating, they can definitely see themselves. I can see them going far in the tournament when March comes around. Other than that, it's not a lot of big movements when it comes to the top 10 and the top 25. A lot of people up, but a lot of people down. North Carolina did drop out of the top 25, so I think that is something to look at. West Virginia made their way in at number 24, which, they're sitting 12-0. So we shall see. So in the AP top 25 in the coaches poll, isn't that much different. So I like that. I like when the top 25, AP top 25 in the coaches poll are relatively the same. That means that we're all on the same page at this moment. Now, as we get deeper into the season, that's going to change a lot. AP going to be some crazy stuff, and the coaches, they're a little bit more realistic sometimes, and sometimes they're the opposites. They both play favorites, so we shall see, right? Like I said, conference play has started, and we said TCU and Baylor Baylor just destroyed them, and that's normal. The thing that I think we should definitely be looking at is Tennessee. With Jackson back, she had a very good game, and they won that game. And I think they're definitely going to be. I can't really call them a sleeper because with Rakia Jackson, they're a top team. But she's been out for a lot. She's been out for a majority of the season so far. So I get that they probably wanted to hold her off the court probably a little bit longer than they needed to, just so she can be prepared for the conference play. And I think that's a good and bad thing for the team because now the team knows they can win some games without her. And then, but if she's not on the floor due to foul problems, they can handle their own until she comes in. But I think having her back pretty much changes some of the rankings at this moment. They have a lot to do to get back high up into the rankings. So we should definitely see how they do in this conference play. I mean, obviously the SEC is definitely the SEC is the league that everyone's looking at, right? You have the two best teams in the country, right? You have South Carolina and LSU. Stat-wise, if you look at stat-wise, they're the two best teams in the country, right? Points per game, LSU is number one. I think South Carolina is like number 6 when it comes to points per game. And that's crazy to think that South Carolina is like number 6 when it comes to points per games when they were killing people. They had multiple 100-point games, but it's just how it works, right? Point differential, they're number 1 and number 2 teams, right? South Carolina being number 1, LSU being number 2. And with both of these teams, they both play totally different. To me, South Carolina plays through their guards, which is definitely different for us with South Carolina because they were known for having their great post players, right? You had Asia Wilson, then you had Aaliyah Boston, which meant this year it was Cardoso. But Pow Pow, man, Pow Pow is it. Raven Johnson, she is it. And then you have the freshman coming off the bench for Gwali. It's like it's the season of the guards right now for South Carolina. Will that change as things progress? Probably, because you're gonna have some teams that are kind of like them, that are more guard play than post play. But then you have a team like LSU, who all 5 starters can just go off. The only difference is their bench play, which their bench play is majority freshmen with Poa coming off the bench or Haley Van Lith. It depends on how Haley is feeling that day or that game if she's going to be starting. So those teams are completely different. LSU has Morrow on one post and you have Angel Reese on the other post. So it's like when they get the ball into the post, either one of them is getting double team or triple team. We haven't seen a game where they're not both getting double team or triple team. But if they're both on the floor at the exact same time, one of them is open. If they're not open, Angel Reese has definitely put it in her game a lot more to pass the ball out. And she's getting more and more assists per game. I think she's starting to do like 4 or 5 assists per game just by people closing in on her in the post and passing that ball out. Both of these players are averaging a double-double. And then you have the freshman in Michaela Williams, who is definitely proven that she's one of the best freshmen of this class. Flau'jae Johnson is pretty much continuing what she did last season. She done switched up some things. She done matured a lot more, and I like it. I like what I'm seeing. The only thing I think with LSU is bench and slow starts. They start so slow. The only thing that helps them with their slow starts is that they still put up points and they try not to let the game get out of hand. So by halftime, if LSU is down by 10 or less points at halftime, if you're not a team that has a great second half, you're done. Their third quarter offense and defense, I ain't never seen anything like it. So whatever happens in that locker room, or if they're watching film at halftime, I don't know what it is, but it works for them, and they're winning games. The issue is what's going to happen when they find a team that has an entire game flawlessly, right? When they play a team that at halftime LSU is down by 15 plus points, can they come back from that? Because they couldn't in their very first game of the season, which is a totally different team. LSU is a totally different team now than they was the very first game of the season. So we never know. And it's like, what happens if LSU has a complete game for 4 quarters? What type of team is that? What type of game would that be? And we don't know. And I don't think we will see it until we get deeper into that conference play, which everybody is excited to see LSU and South Carolina, Tennessee and LSU, Tennessee and South Carolina, seeing these teams go head to head. It is what it is, and we never know what's going to happen. And I can't wait for it all to happen. I hope you guys watch it with me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting me. Peace, love, happiness. Like, comment, subscribe.